What's going on, Paisanos? V here, and today I have my Despia Adventure, whatever you want to call it, deck, Despia ALBAZ Adventure, Hero deck, whatever it's called. Listen, I picked this build because I think this is the most competitive build in the format. There's a couple of cards you could change, and when we're doing this video, I'm going to go over the main deck, side deck, extra deck. We're also talking about all the options you can use, and there are a ton of options, different ways to play this deck. There's a lot of different builds of this deck, and we'll go over that later on in this video. So right off the gate, I'm going to show you the deck. Right now, it's currently 46 cards in the main. I like to get that down to 45, but it's just really hard choosing which one over which one over others. All right, we're rocking out 3 ALBAZ right off the gate. I think everyone's going to be having to play this card at 3. Ultimately, I think it can go to 2, but right now 3 is probably the best way to do it. I'm playing 2 Despian Tragedy. Instead of playing the 3rd, I'm playing Despian Comedy. I think that's a better ratio. And then 1 Ab Libiton. So, I mean, and I also would love to play a second one of these if I ever had the room, because I think this card's great after turn 1. I think it's probably one of the best cards you can get to if you can fusion summon after turn 1. But yeah, so that's the current build. As far as Destiny monsters, we do have 1 Celestial, 1 Dasher, because we are running a DPE in this build. It's just really good to, open Fusion Destiny, do your baseline combo, and then drop a Fusion Destiny afterwards. You can also get into it because we also run Predator Plant, Inverted, and Anaconda. 2 Fallen ALBAZ. I think this is probably the most correct ratio. If you run 1, it's bad. If you run 3, have fun drawing it. It's bad. So I think 2 is perfect. For the Adventure engine, you're going to notice a bit of a difference from my previous build. We are cutting everything down a little bit because there are times where you just want to summon ALBAZ. And if you summon ALBAZ, you don't want to play these cards for the most part. You don't want to open like Double Water Enchantress ALBAZ and like 2 hand traps. What are you going to do in that situation? Are you going to go for an Iron Negate? Or you're going to attempt it with ALBAZ and try to like create your board state, which obviously I think ALBAZ is the more better play here. So that's why we're cutting down these a little bit. And to be honest with you, I kind of like the way it works. I get, if you go first on ALBAZ, do your full combo, the follow can be the Adventure package, which I think is also really cool to do as well. For hand traps, I'm still running a lot of 2 elves. I think 2 elves for hand traps is really good. You can't run infinite permanents. We'll talk about that in the video later on. But 2 hand traps is really good because we're going to go into Chimera on our opponent's turn. So we're going to be able to draw 2 cards. So you don't want to draw 2 of the same hand trap because most of them are once per turn. So we are playing 2 Ghost Bell Haunted Mansion, 2 Ghost Ogre and Stone Rabbit, 2 Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs, 2 Ghost Mourner Moonlit Chill, and 1 Effect Failure. I think this is like the correct ratio for hand traps. Ghost Mourner is really good in time as well, so keep an eye on that. This deck can't just one-shot you that easily. Ghost Mourner can help you facilitate that, so I think that's really important. The reason why we're running it like this, because like I said, we have 46. I don't want to play 47. I don't want to play a second Veiler, and I kind of like this ratio. As far as the spells, 3 Branded Fusion, it's a better Shadow Fusion. 3 Branded Openings. So I could be playing 45 cards, but I'm testing out the 46 card being branded in red. I feel like if you open this card in Branded Fusion and you resolve Branded Fusion, the branded in red is just so much better of a card. I think this is just a really good card to open up with as well. I like it a lot. I think Branded in red is really, really good for the current game state. So if you haven't tried it out, definitely want to try it out. This build also plays Double Masquerade, so I'll show you that later on in the video. But why Double Masquerade is so important is when you play Flunderies, you better get out Double Masquerade against Flunderies. You need to do that. So Branded in red kind of helps facilitate that a lot quicker, and it's better when you can open one and then later on in the game state you'll get another one. Anyway, 3 product. So Triple Tactics Talents. I'm not running Product Prosperity anymore. I feel like Product Prosperity is a decent card at best, but there's not many cards you want to banish in your extra deck. Not only is not many cards you want to banish in your extra deck, in the current meta the way it is, everyone's playing hand traps. This card always is going to be live. The minute you bait 1 hand trap, this is Pot of Greed, or you can take a card in your opponent's hand. It's a decent card going second when your opponent is running cards like DPE, which is in the meta, and they want to get value off you, so Talents is really good for that. And it's great if you're going first and you bait your opponent's hand trap out. You can snipe another card in hand and then create your board. I just love this card a lot. I think this is a really good card right now. Maybe in the future we'll transition over to Prosperity, but as it stands right now, I think 3 Talents is infinitely better. 3 Coastal Designators, Call by the Grave. So this is one of the major changes I decided to put into the deck. Coastal Designator, whenever I play this card, even in the side, I'm always going into it. This card is so good. I think, you know, with the vast array of hand traps we play, it makes Cross Designator better. It's great against the mirror match, and due to the fact that we run the adventure package, you snipe the adventure package. Another cool thing about this interaction is one of the side deck cards you play is Dimensional Barrier, and if you're playing Dimensional Barrier, and even if you go in second, you can put one in, and you just designate it when your opponent does it to you, and then do your entire play. One of the best cards to stop you gets stopped by a cross designator, and I don't know. I think it's a really good card. This format. I think that, you know, your cards resolving, like Branded Fusion resolving, is a big deal for you as a Yu-Gi-Oh player. And in order to get that done, cards like Talents and Cross Designator, Call by the Grave, these cards right here can help facilitate your plays a lot more easily. And that's what you need to happen. You need to get your Branded Fusion happening. You need to start fusion summoning, and these is what's going to help you get there. Obviously, we do run the Foolish Burial. It's insane in this deck. We do run 2 Fusion Destinies. And then for the adventure package, once again, since we cut down 2 Wooden Enchantress, we're going to equal it out and go 2 Rider Aramazir, 1 Dragoback, and 1 Faithful Adventure. So once again, this is a 46 card build of the deck. If you notice, I'm not playing Dragoon. I'll get to that in a second. It's only an option. We can play Dragoon if we want to. I find no problems with playing Dragoon. I think Dragoon's a great card to play. But yeah, so I'm just trying this build out for now. All right, so for the side deck, what we're doing is we're going to go ahead and we're going to side up, you know, the side's pretty much the same. 3 Lightning Storms, 1 Harpy's Featherluster. I don't like Twin Twisters because I don't like pitching cards with this deck. You have a limited amount of resources, so you can use them wisely. So I think Twin Twisters is a bad card to play. I don't like Evenly Matched, even though the card's good. I really want to have a battle phase because you got to do damage with this deck. You can't OTK, so that damage is kind of important. But if you are playing evenly matched, I understand why. Cosmic Cyclone is decent. It's but the snipe card, and in a format where everyone's starting to play Eldritch because they recently topped the YCS, I don't like that card. So for the most part, my answer is going to be Lightning Storm. You can also run MSTs if you want. Just know your Eldritch matchup is a lot harder, a lot more grindier, which I think this deck is okay with, kinda, if you know how to manage your resources properly. We are still running 2 Super Polymerization, really good card still. I think Super Polymerization is one of those cards that really gives you an advantage as a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh player when playing in a mirror match. It can help you OTK as well, so it's kind of good. Also good against dragons. Then we are running the 3D barrier. Like I said, this card's really good for cross-designated targets. This card's also really good when you're trying to stun your opponent for 1 turn so you can follow up and kill him the following turn. So overall, just a great card. We are running a 3-draw unlock board. I put this back into the side, and the reason why is because this card is really good against certain matchups and does nothing against other matchups. And there's almost no in-between with draw unlock board. If I'm playing against a Shadow variation that runs like Alistair or any of that stuff, like this card's really good against like Dogmatica and stuff like that. Good against Flundery, shuts their turn down. Decent against dragons, stuff like that. Not that good against prank kids. It's all right, but you have to do it at the right time. And once again, there's certain matchups where this card just does nothing, and certain matchups where this card's really good. And I kind of like this card to be only used when it's like really good. And the last 3 cards is still going to be Spear Mode. I think Spear Mode is one of the best cards in the side deck. It's just insane when your opponent's trying to make a huge board. Ideally, they want to make a huge board to shut you down. And instead of drawing this card, your 6th card, and this card being the Biru, Spear Mode can just pop on the board and mess your opponent up. Obviously, it takes away from your normal summon, but we have a lot of ways to do summonings without normal summoning. So this is why I opt to play Spear Mode. I think it's a great card this meta. For the extra deck, we're gonna go into double Mirror Jade. You got double Lubellion, double Albion. I always want to play 3, but 2 I think is more enough. Just gotta manage your resources. Double Chimera, double Masquerade. Now, before I was playing Dragoon, and if you still want to play Dragoon, that's no big deal. This other Masquerade can be Dragoon, and you can use the other Branded in red as the target for Dragoon, which I'll get to in a second. So there's always that. We do play Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. That's being Q, Quaterus, we want to call it. This card has a real purpose. It's not just a goofy, like, oh, it says that's it, throw it in there. No, it has a real purpose and real utility. The reason why this card's so important is because this card on the follow-up turn is how you're going to end the game if your opponent has a weak board. So if your opponent is not playing this deck and they play a deck full of a bunch of other monsters, this card's going to make all your opponents attack 0, and that's going to help you end the game. Because your ideal board is going to have Chimera out, you're going to have Mirror Jade out. So right here, these 2 right here is 33 and 3K, so that's 66. And this card will make your opponent's monster 0, so you ideally want to go with these 3 to kind of end the game. So that's why it's kind of important to have this card in here. that does come up. You just gotta know that, you know, when it can come up and take advantage of that. So that's why this card's kind of important. Draxapelli is still in the deck. I like Starring Venom Fusion Dragon more, but Draxapelli is really good when especially if you're playing against a mirror match when they are using adventures. You bring out Draxapelli, use Draxapelli effect to target a Griffin, and then with 2 cards, you kind of got rid of 3 cards. So it is kind of good. And then we have Link Spider, Inverter, and Anaconda. So someone asked me in a video, why is Link Spider in this deck at all? And the reason why is because any one of your main adventure cards, so like Rider Aramazir or your Water Enchantress, can get you into Predator, Inverted, and Anaconda. So these right here can help fire that off. What you're gonna do is you're gonna go Rider Aramazir. Excuse me. You're gonna go Rider Aramazir, Rider Aramisi or Aramazir, whatever you want to call it. Obviously make the token. Go Faithful Adventure. And then Faithful Adventure, you're going to add Water Enchantress to your hand, pitch another card away, and then you special out the Water Enchantress, so we still have Griffin in deck in case you do want to negate later on in the game state. And then you're going to get rid of this guy over here and go Link Spider. You can actually wait before you do the whole Water Enchantress play. You can go Link Spider effect, proc Faithful Adventure, get the Equip spell if you really want to do that. I personally don't. I'd rather pitch a card. But, you know, Water Enchantress... Water Enchantress would be your normal summon in this instance, and then these 2 over here go away, and then go into Predator for the Anaconda, and with 1 card you basically get Anaconda. So that's why like Link Spider's in here. It's double utility, so it's kind of important for that that aspect of the deck. All right, so let's go over a lot of side deck options, because one thing you have when you're playing this deck is a crazy amount of options, not just side deck, main deck options. Alternative card options. One thing I don't have in here I want to discuss is a Cyber Dragon variation of this deck. You can do Cyber Dragons with this deck. It does work. The question is it consistent? And that's the question I want to ask every single Cyber Dragon player, because I'm not the best Cyber Dragon player. So if it does work, let me know in the comment section down below on how do you like it. So we're not playing a full Rider Aramazir Water Enchantress package. We're not playing the extra cards. And the reason why I'm not playing the extra ones, like I said earlier, is because this is not the bread and butter of the deck like it would be something like Prank Hits. Prank Hits, you see these, great. This with a Prank Hit monster, you're going full combo. So Prank Hits like to do that. Whereas this deck, it's great, but it's not the be-all end-all. It's not super necessary. And I'm the Negate is garbage compared to summoning ALBAZ getting a resolving branded fusion. This is just a utility in this deck. It's not a main kind of thing you want to open up with. So I think that's really important to note. There are times when you can open this up if you have like if you have Branded Fusion, you can open this up and do some really cool plays. But for the most part, if you have this in ALBAZ, you're most likely going ALBAZ unless you have the Branded Fusion in hand already. Another card is Cyframe Gear Gamma. Why don't I run the Gamma package? Branded Fusion Gamma is pretty nice in case you do negate it. And the reason why is really simple. If you run Gamma, first of all, you have a chance of bricking, let's be honest. You're never drawing Gamma, you're always drawing the brick. But number 2, what's more important is, once you bring this out on board, you can't really do anything. You can't link someone with this. And that's a huge issue. If you can't link someone with this card, is it really useful? I argue no, not really. If you summon ALBAZ, activate ALBAZ effect, this isn't doing nothing in your hand. Yes, it's a light target to send from the deck to the graveyard, but we have, you know, Ghost Ogre. If you're playing if you're playing this card, you have this card. Like, we have so many other options, it's just not worth it. Then we have Nibiru. I already explained why Nibiru is not really as good in this deck. I'd rather run Spear Mode over Nibiru, but I mean, that's player preference. Token Collector is decent, but if you're playing Token Collector, you're obviously looking at the OCG deck list. And if you look at the OCG deck list, you know, and you're seeing that they're running Token Collector, you go, oh, we should run that card. And also, I don't like Sword Souls. The thing is, though, we don't have a hard matchup against Sword Souls. The reason why Sword Souls is a hard matchup in the OCG is because they have Protoss. That's why this card's needed in the OCG. Here in the TCG, it's not needed as much. Why am I not running Dramaturge Despia? Because I'd rather run a second Ab Libitum. In fact, one of the cards I wanted to show was Ab Libitum. I'd rather run this card. This card's insane. This card's not bad. It kind of plays around Seal Poly a little bit. It's kind of cute how you dance around Seal Poly. But for the most part, it doesn't really do much. And I kind of don't like it like that. I'd rather play like this card instead. I think Ab Libitum is definitely better than Dramaturge. In the OCG, they are running Alpha and Master Beast to bounce up Mirror Jade. I feel like that card here in the TCG, I mean, you can run this as well, but I kind of like talents. You take your opponent's Mirror Jade, you got to attack, you could banish, of course, or you could just, like, you know, take your opponent's Mirror Jade and get rid of it. It's whatever. It's not that big of a deal. So just make sure not to send it to graveyard card effects. Maybe you can link into like a Predator Red Anaconda using opponent's Mirror Jade. Whatever you want to do. All right. Can you run Eldritch in this deck? Yes, there is an Eldritch variation of Branded, and eventually I will show that variation on this channel. I'll try to show as many variations of the decks as long as they're like meta relevant and competent enough. I'm competent enough, I should really say, because I want to play the deck at the most competitive level. I want to play all the variations, and this deck has a ton of variations. Can you run Invoked with this deck? Yes. Just note, let me say something real quickly. Just note, whenever you run a variation that's not this build, or at least lean towards this build, it's not going to be as good as the current tier 1 version. Does that make it bad? Of course not. And I could be wrong. Maybe Invoked Despia is the best build, or maybe Eldritch Despia is the best build. Maybe I'm totally wrong. That's fine. I'm totally fine with being wrong as far as what is the best build. But if you have a tier 1 build, let's say this is to be the tier 1 build, these would be lower on the totem pole. Doesn't mean they're bad. This means as a Yu-Gi-Oh player, you're gonna have to manage your resources strategically when playing this, even more so than the tier 1 build. So you can do it. I'm not saying you can't do it. And there are going to be players out there that is going to play an Eldritch version of this deck and definitely slam people's faces into the ground. That's 100% going to be a possibility. So keep an eye on for that. No doubt in my mind. All right. Why do I run the Frightford package? Why don't I run this? This is a really cool package that gives you a lot of resources. The thing is, though, if you're going second, I feel like this package is a lot weaker. A lot of players in the previous, the day before this build came out, the structure that came out with Branded Fusion, you kind of needed this to be your like weaker version of Branded Fusion, but you don't need it anymore. I do see players that might be able to still top with this card, but eventually this is going to go away. Cool tech, though. Why don't I run Prosperity? Once again, I said Prosperity eventually will be ran in the deck at one point. I don't think it's going to be ran in the deck immediately. I think Talents is a better card. As time goes on, though, I do think Prosperity is definitely going to be the card that's going to be in the main over Talents. What's good with Allure of Darkness? Well, here's the thing. You have Talents, you have Prosperity, you have Allure of Darkness. If you're running Allure of Darkness, you're going to run 3 Tragedy. If you're running Allure of Darkness, you're probably playing a more pure version of Despia. No big deal, but you probably are. Once again, it's not that bad, but it goes back to what I was saying. It's weaker on the totem pole. Allure of Darkness is still a phenomenal card, and I do think that Allure of Darkness has a lot of utility within this build. And maybe if you don't want to run Prosperity, if you don't want to run Talents, Allure is a cheaper alternative. Why don't I run Theater Branded of the Despia? This card's really good in a more of a grindy game state. The meta is still a little bit too fast to run this card, though the meta is currently slowing down. I always say it, but it's true. No more we're seeing Infernobles rip your hand away. No more we're doing any of that goofy Dragon FTK. The meta is slowing down, 100%. And I feel like the meta can slow down to one point where maybe Despia Theater Branded is useful, but it's not right now. I think it's way too fast for this card. Infinite Impermanence is not a good card. Once again, you run Chimera. If you Chimera and you draw Imperm, congratulations, you drew a hand trap you can't use. What kind of hand trap is good if you can't use it? That's the problem with this card. Relinquish Anime is a little cute thing they do in the OCD. They summon Tragedy, go Anima, add a Despia monster. I feel like if you're doing that playing this meta, you're probably going to get bodied on the following turn. So why put yourself in that position? I don't agree with that. Shadow Winda. I'm a huge fan of Shadows. I love Shadows. And Shadow Winda obviously is the it's obviously one of the cards that you can go into in this deck pretty easily. You can actually make a pretty sweet Shadow Winda board. Depending when you want to pitch, you can also get rid of Shadow Beast. That's kind of cool. You can use the Light Shadow Monster to kind of do this a lot easier as well if you want to use Kalos. I can never say that name right. I personally don't like going into Shadow Winda because I feel like everyone and their mother has a way to stop Shadow Winda. Like, I think every Yu-Gi-Oh player is programmed at this point to go, alright, let me put my deck, these cards screw over Shadow Winda, and the rest of my deck I'll up it together. I do think Shadow Winda is a great card, and will definitely catch a lot of players off guard, like 100%. Maybe in the future it could be as a side deck choice, but as it stands right now, I don't think Shadow Winda is that good. I will say I do like Winter with Beast. It's a little cute little thing you do. You get like reset resource, but it doesn't do anything like as far as like your opening board state. If you go second with Winda, it doesn't do anything. So maybe it's a good side deck choice, but I can't see this being like a main deck. If you're playing this in the main, just know everyone is going to walk over your Winda. It's not going to be hard to do. Even more so with Adventurers, where they can just like bounce your Winda and like yeah, it's just not worth it. All right. Titanclad. Why do I not run Titanclad? I personally don't think Titanclad's that really good to run. The best thing you do is get your Fallen ALBAZ, and why would you want to get Fallen ALBAZ in your hand? It makes no sense. I'd rather send the red guy. I'm really bad with names. I'm not gonna lie, you know. Albion. I'd rather send Albion and get better value than Fallen than Titanclad. The only way you would want to run Titanclad if you main to a poly, and I don't think you should main to a poly whatsoever. But that's the only way you would want to play your Titanclad, because at that point, Fallen ALBAZ one monster of a lot of attack, 2,500 attack or more. So maybe you do that. I don't run Post-Gideon. I don't think nobody should be running Post-Gideon. The only way I think Despia Post-Gideon is doing anything is you're playing against a deck that plays lights and darks consistently. You know, like Drytrons. I think this card's insane against Drytrons. But it's, for the most part, it's not going to get you anywhere. Let's talk Dragoon, because I love this card, and it'll probably be going back into the deck at one point. I think Dragoon's really good. Obviously, you can't use the pop unless you send Dark Magician to the graveyard. Then you can use the pop. Just know that if that is to be the case, if you bring back Red Ice Dragoon with Ab Libiton later on in the combo, the problem with that is it won't be able to use the pop, even though you originally brought out Fusion Summoned it with Dark Magician. That's what I just found out from the judges' lounge, so keep an eye out for that. Dragoon's still really good. Having an Omnigate's really good. But here's the thing with Dragoon. Me personally, I don't open up with Dragoon unless my hand's really not that good. I still want to open up with the whole Mirror Jade combo. The only way I would go into Dragoon is on the following turn in order to kill my opponent and have an Omnigate while doing so. So I do like Dragoon, but your hand has to be insanely good in order to kind of bring Dragoon out. Realistically, you're going to go Mirror Jade first, and then you're going to follow up with Dragoon to kill your opponent. I don't hate Dragoon. I think Dragoon's great, and there's a lot of, people are playing the Dark Sealed Fusion. People are playing the Gods of the Eye, but everyone most likely is playing the Light Hex Sealed Fusion. Like, this is the one you should be playing. These two are really cool, don't get me wrong. Like, really, really cool, and hey, Dark Magician gets you a pop. That's kind of cool. And maybe you can side Dark Magician. Like, it's actually not a bad card to side, because, like, if you're going to time, and your opponent goes first, and you break their board, and you go into Dragoon, that Dark Magician pop is going to win you the game. So, like, that's kind of cool. But ultimately, you're not going to be able to, I would not say main these. I would rather main these two and call it a day. Two cards you main get you an Omnigate. Once again, really, really cool. And there are instances where opening up a Dragoon is kind of good, but it really depends on the circumstances of the game state. And then the last card is going to be the Dark Charmer Gulumi. Why don't I run this card? And this is something that I think a lot of people are going to have a huge issue with. I think we'll see a lot of players run it right now, which I think this card gets really good as the meta progresses, but it's really bad right now. And the reason why is very simple. A lot of players are already ready with you via hand traps. They're already ready in a mirror match with Mirror Jade. You're not just easy to go into this card and take your opponent's stuff. You gotta break your opponent's board and then maybe go into this card. But if you're playing this deck and you're playing the mirror match, you can't do that. You can't do that right off the gate. You gotta be in top deck mode, be up a dark monster, a dark spellcaster, no, dark monster, and then go into this card. Like, you should be winning already. Why are you playing a win more card in a deck that you don't need to do that in? So even though I like Dark, and I think as the meta progresses, it will see play, it's not going to see play in early builds. And if it does see play in early builds, I want you to listen to what those players say when they talk about this card. It's really rare they're going to say this card did anything early on. I do think as the meta progresses, once again, this card will be a staple, but it's not going to be a staple right now. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to be doing a bunch of other videos on this channel about Despias. This is probably my new favorite deck. I'm a big Shadow fan. I like playing mid-range decks. That's like my big thing. I love it. Combo's not bad. Control's not bad. But mid-range is always like my favorite because you're actually playing Yu-Gi-Oh! You're actually looking at your opponent and going, get ready, we're going to see turn 3. We're going to turn 4. I'm going to try to kill you by turn 2, but it doesn't mean we're going to get there as easily, and that's what the Yu-Gi-Oh! I want to see. I want to go back and forth. I want to see more skill-based, and I think the most skill-based play is in mid-range formats, mid-range decks. That's where skill-based is, and I think that's what these decks are realistically to a lot of players. Don't get me wrong, I think combo has a huge place as well for being that kind of deck that, like, you gotta memorize every single variation, and if a card stopped, you gotta memorize the new variation of that build, so I think it's really important for combo. Control, you know, putting a helmet on gives you a chase under the chin, so that's important. But for the most part, I do think mid-range is, like, just infinitely better, and I definitely think Branded is going to be that deck, this meta, that's gonna separate the good and bad players in the game. So I like this a lot. I do think this deck gets better as the format progresses, and when we get a ban list, I think this deck does even better post ban list, and we'll be checking that out. It's your boy V, and you guys all have a great day.